Cool, huh? So, would love to hear how you're gonna apply this next time you're on the hill or next time you're working with some of the athletes. So, go ahead, unmute. Let's hear.
Lots of transitioning from turn to turn this lesson gave.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. The forward and back definitely will utilize that as a snowboarder as far as like toe side to heel side edge, side to side as a skier. And I actually was thinking as a tandem ski pilot, how being aware of where your hips are and where your weight is on the back of the skis is really helpful in all ways that we went today.
Yeah, I think so too. And if you're going to be working with athletes who are using that kind of equipment, this is something that you can encourage them to do this lesson. Jakob, anything?
Yeah, I liked when we were shifting our hips in a circle because that's pretty much how you're supposed to do it through two turns on a snowboard, shifting your hips from out front to the front, back to the back, and do it again.
Cool. Hey, Nate, got anything?
Absolutely. There was a lot of several parts. Some from as simple as fore aft was whether you're forward onto the front of your skis or you're in the back seat, to separation of the upper body, lower body while you're stacking over that downhill ski. And I know when I ski, I try to feel in my sides to make sure I'm getting that separation and that weight transfer. And then, like you said, right into mono skis and to doing that weight shift in your bucket and having that quiet upper body with your outriggers to help initiate that turn. So I thought that hit really, really well across the adaptive spectrum.
Yeah, this is, and then just to remind you, kayaking, because it will be summer again one day, even though we've barely had winter, and cycling, that movement of the pelvis in that direction as well. So I imagine that there's even a frisbee application, but I don't know how to do it. But maybe we do. Well, thank you guys. Thank you so much. It's always wonderful to see how each of you is really getting new skills and developing new skills and really applying these lessons to sports that you love. So thank you. Peace out. We'll see you again soon. Welcome to Awareness Through Movement Winter Sports Nut Edition. And it's a sunny day on Cannon, in theory. So today's lesson, boy, we're lucky to have Nate with us today. So today's lesson is a really important one for the hips and getting your weight shifting from side to side. So, whether it's on skis or the board, alpine or downhill, and then even thinking ahead to cycling, kayaking, and even golf. The movement of the hips is really, really important to be able to tune in and really understand what's going on so that you can do what you want. And this lesson is going to be especially interesting for those skiers who are sit skiers, because so much of your weight shift and your ability to turn is really on the ability to get those sit bones connected and driving through the turn with the sit bones. So for the sit skiers, this is especially for you. So let's use this lesson seated. So I'm going to invite everybody to be sitting on a firm chair. And maybe tip your screens down a little bit so I can see a little more of you. And let's just, perfect. Yeah, great, great, great. And super. And let your hands rest on your knees. We're not going to use our hands much today, so you can let them rest on your knees. If you want to let them drop on the side. If you use a wheelchair, remember to lock down and you can let your arms rest on your rests. That's fine. And let's just take a minute now to take a deep breath down into the belly. And release. And let's just take a minute to imagine that you're at the top of the run. And it is a beautiful day, fresh snow, fresh corduroy. And now we've used this image before of rocking back and forth on the sit bones. So imagining that your sit bones were the skis or were on the board and coming forward on the sit bones and rocking back. So we're going to say we're rocking forward on the skis or forward on the board and back. And while we're doing that, really imagine that you're letting your whole spine come into it. So as you rock forward, your front gets long and your chest comes up a little bit. That looks goofy. And then as you rock back, remember how the shoulder blades kind of expand apart and you round a little bit? Yeah. So forward and the shoulder blades come together and back and the shoulder blades kind of come apart. Good. And now do that comfortably so that maybe you feel that movement just rolling up the spine. Beautiful, beautiful. That's it. And really let those shoulders be soft. You might even notice like Natasha's got her chin coming a little bit towards her chest as she rolls back. That's it. And then coming forward a little bit as it comes up. Beautiful. That's it. And let that go. And now we'll imagine we're going to shift to one ski and then the other, or to one side of the board or the other. So now shifting side to side. And you're kind of rolling over those sit bones. So side to side. That's it. And now, as you're doing that, maybe you let one sink and the other hip bone comes up a little bit, because if you rock all the way like that, that is a skid out. We don't want to do that. So as you're rocking to the side, see if you can find that movement in the ribs to keep your center line. That's it. That's it. Good. Beautiful. Exactly. Nice. Nice. And keep your head pointing downhill or straight ahead. Good. Good. And now we're going to go back to front to back. So downhill, we'll call this downhill, coming forward, and coming back is uphill. And then side to side. And again, we'll go downhill, uphill, side to side. And as you do that, if you can make it smaller and smaller, so as you're coming downhill and uphill, really find that center line and really feel yourself coming through the center line. And then side to side, see if you can find that center line side to side. So really running across, if there was a field of energy coming right down between your ears, through your shoulders, staying on that energy line as you go side to side. That's it. Beautiful. That's it. And make it smaller and smaller now. So we're going to go front, back, side to side. And see if you can find like a tiny little, it becomes down to a tiny little circle at the intersection of this energy field and this energy field. And you begin to make a circle. So you can choose the direction of the circle, but from the uphill to the side, to downhill to the side, to uphill to the side, downhill to the side. Good. And what I see that's so beautiful is that you're all letting your chest be very soft so that the hips are moving, but the upper body is very soft. That's it. Nice. And then you can try the other direction. And you can imagine for a moment, just stop, that how you might use this on a bicycle. So coming forward and finding that movement in the hips or in the kayak. Now what we're going to do is really isolate each ski. So we're going to, or whether it's the goofy or whatever you call the foots, the goofy and the whatever, left and right, top, bottom, uphill, downhill. We're going to be focused on one side. So now we're going to do the same thing on that one side. You pick the side, but we're going to go uphill on that one sit bone, then downhill on that one sit bone, and do that a few times. So you're really feeling that connection of one sit bone, uphill, downhill, and then you could add the side to side, just that one sit bone. Now that's going to, as you go inside, you're really going to feel that need to open up here on the opposite side as you come inward. It's a very narrow thing. So see if you can find that side to side thing on just the one sit bone. Good, that's it. That's it. Nice, everyone's got it. Good. And then again, front to back, side to side, and start to make that a little circle. So on the sit bone, side to side, front to back, and eventually it becomes a little circle. So you're turning around that one sit bone. Nice. Good. And then you can take it the other way. And notice what it's like to go outward and then inward. That's going to be turning in one direction. And then the other way, outward and then inward. And that's turning in the other direction. Good. And really feel it. And now maybe you connect with your foot and you start to let the movement of the hip connect the foot with the floor so that you start to really feel yourself moving the ski or moving the board or moving the pedal of the bike. Good. Good. And let that go and just take a moment now. We didn't really do a check-in that we often do when we start a class. So now that you've had a chance to move both sit bones a little bit, really settle in and just notice how the sit bones are resting against your surface. And remember, you want to be kind of close up to the edge of the chair. That gives your legs a little more room to move. It gives you a little bit more room to rock back and forth. And then maybe the shoulder blades. And notice we've done a little bit of warming up the low back. How do the shoulder blades rest on the ribs up there? How soft can you let your belly be? How soft can you let your eyes be? Good. And then we'll do the other side. So again, it's that other side sit bone, and it's going to go front and back first and then side to side. So try that first. So front and back, gliding over that one ski, front and back. And as you're doing that, you might notice that as you rock back, maybe your heel sits in a little bit more. As you rock forward, the front of the foot sinks in a little bit more. So if you were ski skating, coming forward on the sit bone would really assist that. And if you were sinking back to do whatever you do on the board, how sinking back with the hip bone could help that. Good. And front and back. And uphill and downhill. And remembering also, as you come downhill, you open your chest. You are ready to go. And as you sink back a little bit, You round your back a little bit. Good. And now from side to side on that one hip bone. So in and out. That's it. And in and out. Try to stay centered over that one side just to really break it down, because sides are different. So take a break. Sides are different. If you are right-handed, in general, it's not a steady rule, but if you're right-handed, you tend to stand on your left leg. So your left leg is, for many people, really good at holding ground. And it's the right leg that you kick with or you push off with. And for some people, one turn is going to be easier than the other. So if you're left-handed, you tend to have your right leg be more stable, and it's the left foot that you kick off with. So once again, go to the side that we were just on, whatever you were, and try that little circle a little bit, and notice if it's different from the other one. You probably started with your more stable leg. So noticing for yourself which side is a little easier. So go both directions. And see if you can really stay centered over that one side. It's a really good exercise. And you might find that as you kind of go out, the other foot pushes down to stabilize. See if you can now let that other foot help you complete that turn. So you press with the downhill ski and the other hip goes around and back. And the other way. Good. And then for just a second now, kind of do another side to side with both hips. And just notice if there's one side that feels a little easier, one side that rolls a little more simply. Good. And that's something to think about, when you're maybe on the lift, is just kind of helping that side that maybe is a little less familiar with movement to just do a little hip circle when you're on the lift, or when you're warming up, or when you're on the bench getting your boots on. So something to think about. Okay, we're going to go back to the first side, whatever you used first. And now, instead of making a whole circle, we're going to make an outward circle. So we roll uphill and then out and around to the front, downhill, and then back again. And a half circle, just that one hip. Really focus on that one sit bone. Good. And around like that. And rocking back and then around. And shifting uphill and then coming around to go downhill. And if you're a Nordic skier, thinking about if this is a movement, now we'll go the other way. So now we're going to go downhill and around. So downhill and around and uphill. And maybe this feels like something familiar. Let the other foot help. And that'll actually help that other hip stabilize a little bit. Good. And now, take a break. We're going to start on the side and come downhill and into the center. So we're making a half circle now from the outside hip forward through the front and into the center. So really finding that center line. So, and you can go forward and back, forward and back. And let your feet help. See if you can let both feet help. That's it. Looks good. That looks good. Good, and let that go. And so we did the front circle, the back circle, and the side circle, right? Did we? I don't know. Okay, let's do the other side. So we'll start with coming downhill and then rolling out and back uphill. And then we'll just come around the other way. So half circle, rolling uphill, rolling downhill. Rolling up and down. And see if you can let that other foot give you some support on that. So when does it help to let that other foot help? When does it help to let the same foot help? Good. And now let's do the other half circle. So rocking in, so from the from uphill, in and downhill, and then in and up. So it's this circle. So this is going to be a little harder. This one is a little harder to go inside, rolling around the inside of the sit bone. Does that make sense? You're looking at me like, I'm not sure. Yeah, you got it. That's, yep, that's it. That's it. This, and then this. Good. And then let's start from the outside of the ski or the outside of the board and coming forward on this one side, coming forward and to the inside. And then forward and to the inside. Forward, inside. Good. And that's a lot. Let's take a break. Tim, you're supposed to signal me when I go on too long. Yeah, okay. So let's take a moment now to kind of settle in again. We have done a lot of work now, kind of loosening up the hips, but what we've also been doing is kind of exploring how the femur, the upper leg bone, rotates in the hip socket, and how the hip socket rotates around the bone. So just take a moment to kind of think about that. And take a deep breath. Notice your ribs. Notice if they're a little more open than they were. We can try that. Just now as you shift to one side, find those ribs opening. Other side. Finding the opening under the armpit. Opening under the armpit. Good. And see if you can keep your head pointed downhill as you shift your weight and open under the armpit. Good. Good. That's it. Okay. Rest time again. So the next thing that we're going to do is 2 half circles. So we're going to do a half circle on one side coming forward, and then we're going to come across and do that same half circle forward and come across. So we're doing, you could think of it as a letter B, coming forward, touch, and across. So you want to try that? So shifting from one, and then that half circle in the front to the center, and then the half circle on the other side, and all the way back. Good. And then we could do the other way. Across, half circle in the front, half circle in the front, and all the way back. And then again, across, half circle in front, half circle in front, and all the way back. That's it. That's it. A few more at your own pace. Nice. That's it. Good. And let that go. And take a moment to see the snow sparkling in front of you. And maybe you're picking your line. Maybe you're focused on the hut ahead where there's going to be hot chocolate. Now we'll try a different set of half circles. So we're going to go back a half circle, back a half circle, and all the way across. And then across and back a half circle, back a half circle, and all the way across. Back a half circle, back a half circle, and all the way across. Good. A few more of those. Good. Beautiful. Yep, that's it. And let your upper body be a little loose, you know? That's going to help you stay balanced. It's going to help you complete your turn. If you're tight in here, that's going to hold back the turn. Good. Let that go. And let's see what we haven't done yet. So, half circle, up to the center, half circle, up to the center. Does that make sense? So, we're going to do, no, let's not do that. We're going to do half circle forward, half circle back, and then half circle back, and half circle forward. So try that. Forward, whichever side you want first, and then back, and then back, and then forward. So side to center, back to side, side to center, side. And this might start to feel like something familiar. Good. And then let's do the other one. So wherever you started forward, you're now going to start back half circle, and then forward half circle, and back around. And remember, this direction may feel different because of the way that our habits are, the way that we're built. And let your feet help support. Good. And how are you breathing? Are you still breathing? Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. And you take a rest when you're ready. And just now, maybe just let your hands rest on your lap and take a minute to just let your hands kind of make a little, I don't know what you want to call it. Sometimes we call this shape the jellyfish. So it's the jellyfish is just kind of bobbing in the water. And this is just to remind you to have very soft hands, because if you're gripping the poles, you can get tired. So just a little soft hands, and maybe we soft hands and forward and back, and soft hands and forward and back. How fluid can you make it? How much of a jellyfish? Good. Good. Okay, now is the name of the lesson, Infinity Hips. So, going to make one circle around, come to the center, complete circle around, come to the center, complete circle around. So, making a figure 8 around your sit bones. and really taking a moment to find that center in the middle. This is a really good exercise for centering, for remembering how to get back onto center if you get thrown off. Good. And you go in one direction. And now you really start to think about connecting to your feet and noticing where in the circle you find your foot wants to help. And then you start to imagine those skis. And even if this isn't how you ski, just starting to connect the hip and the movement of the hip with the pressure on the ski. And you can stop for a moment. We'll go in the other direction. And let the breath come into the belly. And relax. Good. And when you're ready, pick it up going the other way. So, circle to one side, take a moment to find center, and then circle to the other side. And take a moment to find center, and then circle, and circle. That's it. Yep. And how soft can you let your chest be while you do this? And when you're changing directions, can you glide along that center line? Gliding along the center line and then coming out. And gliding along the center line and coming out. And really find that center line. And for sit skiers, really feeling now the way the ski responds. You might want to have your hands out. And especially for sit skiers who are using the pontoons, that you're going to want to keep your chest soft so that you can really allow this movement to transfer through without being rigid. Good. Good. And take a rest. So we've been focused on one sit bone and the other sit bone, and noticing the breath and really letting this be an exercise in coming to center and side to side. So now let's put that all back together into one big circle. So coming forward and back and really feeling now that center line, and maybe really feeling the way the sit bones are your skis and you're hi rocking back and forth. No, we want the babies. Rocking forward and back. And notice if there's been a change, if how this experience of really working one side then the other side, if this center line is a little clearer for you. And how about your spine? Do you feel your spine as part of this now? And how far up the spine can you find it? Munchkin time. Hi. So we're rocking back and forth. Good. And now from one side to the other. So shifting from one sit bone to the other. But see if you can keep that center line too. So you're gliding along this part here, just right. Nice. Nice. Good. And then connect it up in a one big circle. One big circle around in one direction and the other direction. Good. And don't forget that rounding of the low back as you go back, and then opening the chest as you come forward. And is that a little easier now? Good. And go both ways. Maybe just let your arms come out now as if you were holding poles or balancing. If you're on the board, you're going to reach over and touch the hill or whatever you guys do. Yes. And if you're Nordic skiing, finding the movement, the kick and the kick and the kick, and connecting your feet to this. Good. And oh, beautiful. Yeah, show it off. Looks great. And that is the lesson. So